Welcome to Swaraj. Today I'm going to talk on a topic that I'm sure will be debated for the next few months in the country. Just as we are seeing the protest against the CAA, the NRC and the NPR, now comes two new laws that the central government will have to formulate in the coming Lok Sabha sessions. Today the Supreme Court issued a notice based on an affidavit filed by BJP leader Ashwini Upadhyay, demanding that the central government bring in a law to limit the population in the country. It is a long overdue law and that has to be brought in. And the Supreme Court also rightly felt that it is time to bring in that law. Why should we bring in such a law that forces people to have, say, just 2 kids? China tried it with success, in fact, but the Chinese can do it because they are a one-party rule. We are a democracy where every guy who feels aggrieved either hits the streets, burning buses and trains, or goes to the courts and gets some orders. But in this case, in the file by Ashwini Upadhyay, we have seen 2 clear reasons. One is a galloping population in this country. Just yesterday, there was a report by the UN agency which said that there are 3 cities in the country specifically, and all the 3 were from Kerala, which recorded the highest population growth in the entire world. One district, which I don't even want to name, recorded a growth of more than 44%, which means the number of people doubled by 44% in just 5 years, which means in 10 years, the population would have doubled 100% in a literate state like Kerala. I will leave that as a matter of debate. In fact, it's been debated all day yesterday on the social media. What will happen now? The central government will obviously have to respond to the notice issued by the Supreme Court, and from there on, take on the various elements that are going to come and fight in this case. Now let's look at why we should bring in this law. A country has limited natural resources. Our national food distribution scheme is straining. We have huge number of underprivileged and poor people. Adding more and more numbers to this every year is going to strain at some point in time. Why should we reward families which have 8 to 10 kids? And why should we punish people who have just 1 or 2 kids? It should be the other way around, isn't it? We should reward families which are smaller and punish, in a literal sense, families which are bigger. The punishment, of course, can come in different forms. One is to prohibit them from contesting an election, those who have more than 2 kids, say, which is there already in many municipal corporations across the country, or a Lok Sabha election, or even a Rajya Sabha election, or even an assembly election. Prohibit them from getting government jobs, or jobs in any public sector undertakings. Well, that remains on one side. We need to look at what is happening on the other side, which is the Uniform Civil Code. These 2 issues are interrelated because I'll tell you in a minute why it's so. The Uniform Civil Code has to be implemented because the Supreme Court, in a judgment in 2019 relating to a case in Goa based on a Portuguese canon law, actually berated the government, saying for 63 years, despite judgments from the Supreme Court and various other courts, the government of the day has not passed a law which actually brings all religions on the same footing in terms of a marriage law. So the Uniform Civil Code that is going to come now has to be brought in by the government within the next 2 sessions. Otherwise, the Supreme Court will call the government to the court and give them certain orders to implement it, just like it did in the Triple Talaq case. In both these cases, be it the population control case or in the Uniform Civil Code case, I would go back and look at what is the demands of the protesters who are on the anti-CAA agitation. People like Mr. Asaduddin Owaisi, who is my favorite target, or the others who are actually protesting around the country and on television debates, saying there should be no discrimination based on religion. Everybody should get a status of citizenship if he or she is a refugee. Mark this word, no discrimination based on religion. This is a demand of the same people who are on the streets now protesting. The government should say, forget CAA because that is not meant for Indian citizens, but we agree with you that there should be no discrimination based on religion because the Supreme Court has said that in the Uniform Civil Code case and Now that the Supreme Court issued a notice to us saying, what is my opinion? The government is being asked, what is your opinion? If we bring in a two-child norm, or for that matter, they're not mentioning the numbers, but limiting the population in the country. What will be the same leaders who are now protesting say? They will say, oh, no, 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 no. When it comes to all those, religion is separate. But only when it comes to CAA, there should be no discrimination on basis of religion. I would call them hypocrites. Because these are the same people who will sing a different song on different days. Ladies and gentlemen, the BJP government has actually completed a lot of its task in the checklist. But now we're going to see a different task that is going to come up. Next session of the Lok Sabha or the session after that, these two new laws would kick in. And then let us see how many protests come up. Jai Hind.